is there is a donation jar that you can't miss as you walk in. Carlin is holding it up, it's that green jar, to help offset the costs for hosting today's event. On the back table, if you look to the back of the room on the left, the table with the white tablecloth, there is a California ballot proposition recommendations handout, and it gives a brief description of the ballot propositions and recommendations from various state organizations. And it's interesting, I'll leave it at that. It's on the back table. There are also voter registration forms. There is the WELL newsletter, and there's also an application to join WELL, our local group. So all of those are available. Restrooms, as you face the back of the room, if you go to the left down the hall, you'll find the restrooms. And let's get started. So we're going to start first off with some talk and discussion about the two measures that are on our ballot. Before we hear from speakers regarding Measures O, the library measure, and Measure P, the measure for essential services, people should be aware that if both measures pass, there's no actual increase to our county's sales tax rate that would occur. And this is why. Measure B, which is the measure to support and expand mental health services in our county, that was approved by the voters almost 5 years ago, and it had a half a cent sales tax rate, and it had a 5-year lifespan. It's due to expire at the end of March in 2023. And at that point, it will continue, but it will drop from the half a cent sales tax rate to 1/8%. So that's a drop, bless you, that's a drop of 3/8%. So in Measure O, if our library's measure passes, it would receive 1/8 of that 3/8 that is now freed up for Measure B, along with the library already receives a 1/8 sales tax. So it would be added on to that 1/8, and the library would receive a total of 1/8 and plus 1/8, or 1/4% sales tax. The other 2/8 or 1/4 would be designated to go to Measure P, the essential services. The library measure has no end date. It's not as if it sunsets at some year down the road. Measure P would exist for 10 years. So that's a little background on those. No, bottom line, no increase to our sales tax rate if they both pass. So first off, let's hear what Measure O is about, our library measure. And because the sales tax revenue that would be collected from this measure is specifically designated for our libraries, or legally designated, it requires a 2/3, or just under 67% vote of support to pass. 2/3 vote. And this is a citizens' initiative. So here to speak and educate us on this is Melinda Clark, who is chair of the group Friends of the Willits Library. So I'd like to introduce her.
Thank you. Probably everybody in this room already signed the petition, so we're on the ballot for county-wide library maintenance. We passed Measure A 11 years ago. I thought it was 74%, but I'm reading 78%. Who doesn't like libraries? We love libraries. And at this time when democracy is a little wobbly out there, being able to support libraries is so concrete. It's such a democratic mainstay of our country. Anybody can go to the library and get a book. You don't have to be rich. It's such a basic thing, and we were all raised going to the library and getting to find out books on snakes, and everybody's got memories. It's very good. But also, this is not about just books. It's about a place. It's a safe place. It's an interesting place. We're talking Ukiah, Fort Bragg, Point Arena, the Bookmobile. There's going to be a library. Actually, the date is slated for January of this coming year in Laytonville. Yay! Yeah, so we're happening. The beautiful Measure O is there's nothing to not like about it. Like Sherry said, no increase in sales tax, which is, it's a could be a stopping point, but we don't have to stop. We get sustained forever and ever library funding, and nobody else can get their mitts on it.
Yes.
Just the library only, yes, which is really great. And what else is good about it? It's not temporary. It's not for 10 years. Luckily, it is really forever, and I think that's such an investment that we're going to make. We're going to get a matching funds from the state to add to what we can come up with Measure O, to get this new roof for the Willits Library. We hate wet books, right? So that's something as well. The 60% goes to buying books and other CDs and DVDs, and could be various other programs. And 40% is for capital improvements, which is what a new roof would be. It would be solar panels around the county. Some really great things, increasing our ability to have hot spots for people to come in. Rural libraries really need these things. So there's nothing to not like about this. Vote, Measure O, tell your friends. Okay. Yes, just ask me easy questions.
We're going to ask people to write their questions for the school board, but for this, since there's not too many of us,
Yeah.
if anyone has a question, just raise your hand.
Look at that, see? It's easy. No questions, but, oh, I didn't see you, Liam.
Is there anyone opposing this measure?
Mean, terrible people who don't like books.
Speaking to them?
No, no one has come forward against it. We have the positive statement on the ballot. There's no anti-Measure O. No one's come forward with that. Yeah.
So you touched upon both of these questions. I don't know if you can expand on them. One of them was, what are the most pressing needs for this initiative? You mentioned a roof for the Willits Library. You mentioned buying more books. Any other ideas on how is staffing a concern?
Yeah, it's all going to go out. It's all going to come out of that pot. We're already getting a sliver from the county, but the money goes toward whatever the Library Advisory Board advises this Board of Supervisors. They say, we really need this, and the Board of Supervisors says, okay, then you can do this. That we get to be our own authorities and where that money goes. But it does go to programs, it goes to new furniture. We already got new furniture, we don't need that right now, but that we did out of Measure A, buy some nice furniture for the library. It's whatever we want to come up with. So, but a fair amount goes to, of course, keeping up buying books and keeping up our tech, keeping up our things for kids and computers, and part of the matching funds is going to be buying in case there's an emergency, supplies like on-loan Chromebooks. Imagine that. So the library's keeping up with the times.
So I noticed in Willits, our library is closed on Saturday and Sunday.
Sunday and Monday.
Oh, on the website it says Saturday and Sunday. Oh, Sunday and Monday, and I wonder.
Their website.
Yeah. And I wonder if it might be possible with this money to have a library that's open 7 days a week.
Well, that would be wonderful. Let's,
Yeah.
let's visualize that one. Yeah.
I think John has a question.
My understanding is that you only need 50+1% to win. And yet it was stated that you needed 2/3. So
Measure A had to have 2/3, but Measure O does not.
it just needs 50% plus.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Even though it's designated?
Michelle, why don't you come up?
Huh.
Michelle is the president of the Ukiah Friends of the Friends of the Willis Library, Friends of the Ukiah Library. Come on up.
So, yes, the reason that we did it as a citizens initiative, and this came out of the library advisory board, is so that, it wouldn't take 2/3 to pass. It would only take a majority, which is just 50+1. So, we feel pretty confident. When we were out there gathering signatures, the feedback from the community was astonishing. I mean, we got a lot of signatures way beyond what we needed, and the feedback, like I said, everybody really seemed to, if you just said it's for the libraries, people would be like, oh, anything for the libraries. So, we're feeling pretty good about it.
Thank you.
Matt, what is the current annual budget for the whole countywide library?
It's like 4.1 million, and out of the 1/8 sales tax we currently get, it's just, that comes to like 2.4 million. So it makes up a big portion of what we currently have. So that is why it's so important to make it permanent. Just a couple of figures as an example. Before that passed, in 2011, the total library items checked out countywide was 173,000. This year, the checkouts are 404,000. So just to give you an idea of how well we're spending that money, and it's going a really long way. Programs were 471, this year 778. Program attendance, 9,483. This year, over 16,000, almost 17,000, 16,982. And Ukiah, on a sort of average month, like say July, we had attendance of just under 9,000 people coming through the doors in that 1 month. And they checked out just over 11,000 items. So, not only do you check out hard books, but when you have your library card, you can access this huge amount of information. There's e-books, there's audiobooks, you can download movies, you can get music. There's also a whole variety of programs through the California library system. You can actually get your high school diploma through the library system with your library card. So the libraries offer an awful lot of resources that people don't even really know about.
Liam.
What portion of what the county gives the libraries is discretionary?
The county gives us no discretionary money. We get money from the real estate tax that's dedicated to the library. We get money from the sales tax that's dedicated to the library. That's it.
Those are the only two sources.
That's it. Yep. And of course, what the Friends give.
So this is going to double the funding for the library from the
Not-
sales tax?
From the sales tax. It doesn't quite double the total amount, but
Double
yes.
from the sales tax.
And like you said, having this income stream that becomes permanent and has a certain amount set aside for capital means that we then have a stream for things like matching grants. Melinda just touched on this. We just received a grant for $250,000, but it's a matching grant. So in order to get the grant, we have to put money up. Where are you going to find that in the budget, right? So that's really important. And that's one of the key things that this does.
How many people are on the library advisory council?
You know how many people on the board?
That's little.
It's,
Not so many.
John, do you know 6, 7? I don't know, it's not huge. One person from every district, and then there's the county librarian, and there's a supervisor. So 8, maybe?
And that little small group determines how all the money in the libraries are spent?
We have input, because each library, of course, works with the budget, and then the library director comes up with the budget, and then we give them our priorities from our libraries.
Wow.
Judy, did you have a question?
library and the racetrack and the gambling?
Well, no, it's the cultural service advisor now is in charge of the museum and the libraries, and our budgets are quite separate. So, no, we're not really,
You weren't affected.
we were not affected by that, no.
And another question from Judy.
So are you seeing any pressure from the American Library Association to restrict what kind of books you can have at the library?
Good question, and quite the opposite. The American Library Association works with the, there's a large association for publishers throughout the United States, and they all advocate very strongly for a wide variety of books being available at all times, both as hard copy books and as e-books. So quite the opposite. As a matter of fact, statistics are kind of readily available on the websites for both those organizations.
You spoke about the programs that are offered through the library. Can you just give us a little sampling of some of the children's programs and adult programs that are offered?
If you want to talk about Willits, I'll talk about Ukiah.
Yeah. We have little story hours. We have a children's librarian again, so we have reading in the park. We have little story, what do they call it? Story paths or little story walks. We have, what else do we have? I'm blanking. What else do we have?
Farmers market?
We have, that's right, at Farmers Market, we have Story Hour by Tobin. It's it's adorable. And we're gonna be getting back that sense of availability for using the space, like the knitters. And we do have the Lego Club that is happening, and then we have programs on a regular basis that are, the guy that comes with the snakes and people who do dance and different storytelling events. So that's just, it's our normal thing, is having a sprinkling of events throughout the year.
Well, you also have a public access venue, which is very important to our town that does not have very many venues. And you have the Sit and Sew and other organizations have, and AAUW used to have their meetings there. Very important.
Yeah. We're coming back, which sort of people are remembering that we're there since COVID.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So our second measure that's on the ballot, Measure P, is called Sales Tax Essential Services. And my understanding, I'm sure I'll be corrected if it's incorrect, but I believe that because the sales tax revenue that would be collected is not specifically designated for specific purposes, it only requires a 50% plus one vote of support to pass. The money would go into the county's general fund. This initiative was put forth by the County Board of Supervisors. So first to speak on this is John Haschek, who is our supervisor representing our 3rd district. And also here to speak are Scott Cray, Director of the County Fire Safe Council. That's Scott there. And Bill Carter, who is the Little Lake Fire District Chief here in Willits. Welcome.
All right, thank you all for coming out this afternoon. A lot going on in Willits today, and I just wanted to remind you, you need to go see the exhibit at the museum. It's about Nuestra Alianza and the Hispanic community, and it's fabulous. It's really spectacular what they've done. So it should be open for another month or so, but this afternoon is dancing, opening food, and all that. Anyway, I'm here to talk about Measure P. And the Board of Supervisors passed, this Measure P unanimously, and we did it with the consideration of Measure O, because we want both Measure O and Measure P to pass. And with the 1/4 cent tax for Measure O and the 1/4 cent for Measure P, then there will be no increase to the taxes. Like Sherry said, it will be redirecting our taxes from the mental health measure B mostly to these worthy causes. And so with the discussion with measure P was, you know, we're in real need for support for our emergency services and especially our fire districts, that they've been funded too long with bake sales and you know, very sketchy kind of funding. In the last few years, we have been able to get some capital improvements with the PG&E settlement money. And so with the Little Lake Fire Department, we got this ATV, what do you call it?
Well, it's a UTV, a utility vehicle, but it has Stokes on it, has a fire pump on it. We can take it out in places where we can't get full-size pickups or in really bad weather like snow, down trees. It'll have chainsaws on it, hand tools on it. We actually had one rescue us a couple years ago. That wasn't ours, but it was a big reason why we thought we could use one. Was we were stuck on the other side of Blackhawk and couldn't get back to town. And the sheriff's department's UTV came out and rescued us. So, needless to say, it's a great unit. It's still in production. We're hoping to have it in the next few weeks.
And the Brook Trails Fire Department also got one. But that's from the PG&E settlement. That was one-time only money. And then we got the private campground tax, and that is designated to help out the fire districts too. But it's not that much money. And so really what we're looking at is operational cost for the fire districts. And then part of Measure P, and so Chief Martin can talk about the operational and how it will benefit Little Lake Fire Department. But another component of Measure P is that 90% of the money will go towards fire districts and will be spread evenly amongst the fire, or not evenly, but in a formula that the fire chiefs came up with. So the Fire Chiefs Association met, they said this is how we would spread out any money that we get, and so they're in agreement to that, and we're in agreement with whatever they're in agreement with, right? And then, so 90% of that money that will come from this quarter-cent tax, which should be about $4.5 million a year, will go to the fire districts and spread there. And then 10% will go to countywide fire resiliency efforts. And you know, we just can't fight fires after they happen. We need to be better prepared and do the forest management, home hardening, and all the things, you know, the wood chipping, the fuel reduction programs, the fire preparation, you know, doing the fire treatments and everything. So here we have the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council, Scott Craddy, who will talk to that. But that's an important component, and that will probably raise about $400,000 a year for efforts of that kind of you know, approach, because we can't just fight the fire, we have to be prepared to in this day and age. So, and like it was said, that this was generated from the Board of Supervisors, so it's a general fund designation, meaning it could be used for anything, but you know what we've all committed to, and I think that the fire chiefs are going to hold our feet to the fire, is that this money will be spent for the fire districts. And if anyone wavers from that, you know, good luck in your next election or whatever you choose. Anyway, I wouldn't want to go against the Fire Chiefs Association backing out of some agreement like that. So I think that it's a pretty, you know, the argument that says, oh, well, it's general fund, the Board of Supervisors will just divert it somewhere else. It's not going to happen. So I really urge you all to vote and tell the neighbor to vote and really support measures O and P. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Martin to tell us how it will benefit Little Lake.
Martin's close. Chief Carter.
Carter, yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Supervisor Hatchet. So I'm just gonna spend a little time, I don't wanna get up here and ramble, because I can tell you how I could spend this money probably the rest of the afternoon and into dinner for our needs. But just to give you kind of a quick rundown, We were started as volunteers when we started years and years ago, 100 years ago. And we've been that way ever since, with just a few paid people along the way. And even today, we're only up to 4 paid firefighters and 1 admin assistant. So we're 5 is our entire department. We do cover 240 square miles with a 360 square mile sphere of influence. So we got a pretty big district, a lot of obligations, and a lot to protect. It's getting harder. I started as a volunteer, and I've been a volunteer the whole career. I moved into a battalion chief position, which is part-time, paid by stipend, and now the chief. But it's getting harder and harder for people to commit to being volunteers. If you look across the country, it seems if you ask any department what they're hurting with, it's volunteers. The majority of small towns are all fought with volunteer time. Very few are paid, and the ones that are paid, it's like us, it's a very small amount of paid people. And basically that's just to keep the paperwork going. And then hopefully, a couple of people to respond initially when we get a call. Everything else is done by volunteers. So this money, with the new firehouse you guys built this money is gonna help us staff. We have 4 quarters in the department. We won't be able to staff them full time. I wish we could. This money will not be enough for full-time fire department by no way, shape, or form, but it will give us the obligation and the ability to do what we said. We'll put people in these rooms, especially at times of need, either when there's events going on in the county, bad weather's predicted, or any type of natural disaster. We can staff these quarters, pay these firefighters to stay there because they have to take time off from work. They all work. So I can't tell you exactly how it's all going to funnel out. This is pretty new to us. The supervisor brought it to my attention. I think it's been in the works for a while. As far as me being a new chief, I'm pretty new with it. I'm still looking how we're going to do it. Payroll's one thing. We need to pay some firefighters to be available for you guys when you need us. We have equipment needs. We have maintenance needs, gear needs. This day and age, you could think we haven't had an assessment needs increase in our district since 2001. So that's 22, almost 23 years since we've been to the public to ask for more money. We've been fortunate. TOT tax, Prop 172, it brought some revenue our way that we didn't go out and promote. It just came our way, and we needed it, and we're using it, and it's a godsend. But in 22 years, it's like running a business where everything keeps going up, but your revenue stays the same. Like a fixed income business, you have no way to increase your revenue. So this measure passes. It's going to give me a little breathing room. Maybe I can not go out for an assessment needs tax, in the next 5 years. I may still need to, but even if I need to, maybe it won't be for as much as I would need to. So it really would be a blessing for Measure P to pass, and we're really looking forward to it. And I'd like to answer any questions you guys have. Yes?
Do you have those stay in place, things that firefighters can put over themselves if everything starts happening?
You mean like a shelter? Yeah. Fire shelter? We don't, we have fire shelters, but we don't have them like to give out. They're really expensive, really, really expensive. And you can purchase them though.
But your personnel does not own those. You do not have them.
Our department has them for every member that's out on the fire line. Okay. Yes, we have personnel fire shelters anytime we're out there for sure. Mm-hmm.
How much money do you expect to get? How did you decide how to divide the money? And start with those two.
So the county fire chiefs actually made this allocation table long before my time. We have a copy of it right here. Every district gets X amount of percentage. I think on this it's, I borrow it? I don't have it exactly in my head, but. So out of the 20 departments, we do have what they call the base rate for the projected amount. Of course, you never know with taxes, you have to project everything, but the base rate is divided amongst all 22 services. Now there's 20 departments, but 2 of them have like a sub-department. Ukiah Valley and Fort Bragg have 2 departments. So there's actually 20 departments. Each one will allocate $76,363 if the base rate is correct. And then they will divide that by the populace. So bigger cities, bigger commitments will get a little more money than the smaller ones, which is the way that they put that in place, like I said, long before me. And it works out real well with the 172, and I think the TOT, I'm not sure if the TOT is on the same formula, right? The TOT is on the same formula. And this is something that we've agreed upon at the chief's level, the county chief's level. And so far it's working out real well. Very little resistance on it.
And how many volunteers do you have?
Well, it changes. Right now, I have probably 35 volunteers. Great set of men and women. And the problem's not staff and volunteers. Volunteers, people like to volunteer to be firefighters. The problem is having time to make the call. Out of 35 men and women, I can give you one just last night. We got a call, TC on Highway 20. So out of 35 people, I think 6 made the call. If my numbers are right from the report this morning, I think there was 6. And that's what we count on. We have to have a whole lot of firefighters in the base in order for a few to be available when the call comes. Because you never know when the call comes, and they're all doing regular, everyday things.
So can we hear also what Scott Craddy wants to tell us before we get into the rest of the questions?
Oh, for sure.
Is that all right?
That is totally fine.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So just to jump back on how the tax is allocated, so it is a general fund tax. However, simultaneously there was a resolution that all 5 supervisors passed that is very specific. So there's no mystery about how the money is supposed to be spent. And this allocation is part of it. You can see it on the SMP website. There's copies back there. But there's sort of 3 layers of protection here. One is there's a resolution that was passed 5-0 saying exactly what it's going to be spent on. 2, there's an agreement on specific percentages of exactly how it's going to be allocated out. And 3, the resolution also requires the auditor to produce a report every year showing exactly how it was spent. So it's going to be super obvious and super on the table as to how it gets spent. I would say just generally all the departments have really strong different needs, and this is the low bar. This is our chance to get them some of the help that they need without increasing people's taxes. It's a one-time opportunity to make that happen painlessly for people. And he's talking about some of the costs that have gone up. The workman's comp that they have to pay is going up. The equipment costs are going up. And what we demand of them is going up. We looked at the calls for fire alone in the county. They've gone up 52% over the last 5 years, about 10% a year. Okay, so we're demanding more and more of them. And I will skip the stuff about the different department needs because we've had a lot about department needs. I will go to the other essential part of this. This tax measure will produce the first sort of substantial base of funding for prevention work. And we are always going to be in this nightmare cycle of fire unless we get serious about prevention and put some resources to it. It's a steep hill to climb. Decades ago, it dawned on us that earthquakes happen in California. And we changed how we build things and adapted to earthquakes. And it has taken us a shockingly long period of time to come to the conclusion that wildfire is also something that happens in California. It's part of nature. It needs to happen, and we need to adapt to how we live around it. And we're way behind the ball on that. And I will point out just a couple of things that there's a lot that we can do. John mentioned home hardening and defensible space. The insurance industry analysis that I've seen shows that if you do a really good job on hardening your home, the chances that your home will survive a wildfire go up 40%. And if you do that and defensible space well, the chances of your home surviving go up about 75%. So we have a lot of our fate in our hands. We just need support to do it. We need some subsidies to help people do the conversions that they need on their homes to get them hardened. People need the education about how to do it. So we really need to ramp that up. And the opportunities are coming. There are literally billions of dollars in state and federal money that are just starting to come down the pike for this work. And if Mendocino has a well-funded program and has our projects well-defined in advance, we can start bringing that money into Mendocino County. If we pass up this opportunity to build that base now, those opportunities are going to slide right by us. So Measure P is going to position us to do a lot of good for the county and to begin doing the adapting we need to do. And I will stop it there.
You use the term hardening our homes, and I know this is not a tutorial here, but could you just give us a couple of ideas what that term means in relation to a house?
So one of the things they found in the Paradise Fire is one of the 2 things that determined which homes survived and didn't was how old the homes are. Older homes have lots of chinks in them. People think about wildfire as this wall of flame coming, and that can happen, but that's not what happens most of the time. The flames move through pretty quickly. 80 to 90% of homes that burn down in wildfires burn down from little drifting embers. and those embers can drift in from a mile away, whichever way the wind's blowing. It's like matches are raining down on your house. And so you need to sort of look at your house in that context. If little pieces of fire were coming down on my house, are there places they're going to catch? Are there places that I've left that are uncaulked? Are there piles of dry brush at the corner of my house that if a match landed there, oops, that's going to be a problem. So it is home hardening. First off, probably the biggest piece of it is making sure your roof, which is going to catch most of those embers, doesn't have places where things pile up and catch, and if so, putting some metal flashing there or screening them off, and making sure the first 5 feet around your house are as free of anything flammable as possible. There's actually a legislation that's coming down the pike that's going to mandate that. But so you just want to have the places where those embers are going to hit and land. They're going to land around the base of your home, and so you want to make sure there's nothing flammable there, and you want to make sure also the first 6 inches up off the ground of your home are non-flammable. So putting something there, if you've got something that if your siding comes right down to the ground, you're going to want to fix that. So, and there's, I would say go to our website, firesafemendocino.org. We have a ton of information, including a really awesome video series on home hardening that takes you through the in order of priority, the things to do, and shows you the easy ways to do them. We built it specifically for people who are super busy. So we've got a 5-minute version of everything. If you just want to know what to go do this weekend, you watch that. And if you're one of those people that likes to know why you're doing it, then there's a long version that you can watch that goes into that breaks it down for you. Anyway.
Could you repeat that website again?
Yeah, so firesafemendocino.org. While we're doing a commercial, real quickly, I just put this on the poster board out front, but there is going to be an opportunity on October 20th to have one of the experts in this is going to be at the Willits Senior Center, giving a talk on home hardening and defensible space. Jan Valakovic from the UC, who was one of the people that did the study of Paradise and a lot of other places. So.
Where's that on the table?
There's a couple on the table, and I put one on the board out front too.
There's none on the table, only one on the table. When is that, on the 20th?
The 20th from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Senior Center.
Thursday evening.
Excuse me?
Thursday evening.
Yes.
So, Scott, I heard that there was the ability for seniors to get home hardening assessments of our houses and what we can do by the Firewise or some Firewise organization.
That's us. I don't know why I didn't do it. I'm going to grab a bunch of our annual reports and plonk them on the table back there. We provide a lot of services for a tiny nonprofit organization. We're doing a whole lot, including free community chipper service days, and we have a program that does free defensible space for income qualified seniors and/or persons with handicaps. We also support 55 and growing neighborhood fire safe councils that are all doing their own programs. A lot of education. Probably one of the things we just started doing this year, and we just planted a CAL FIRE grant to do a bunch more of it, are going out and doing home assessments in communities. So if somebody organizes a few people in an area, we will come out and do a defensible space and home hardening assessment. Super valuable, super valuable. We've discovered that a lot of people don't get the concept. A lot of people are out there decimating their landscape and cutting things down all around and leaving the most dangerous things like their open carport with a box of newspapers, and the place where they leave their cardboard for recycling that's open. And so the things that are putting their homes at the highest risk are people are missing. So it's worth having a session.
Scott, you talked about mandated 5 feet space around homes, and that was coming down the pike. I'm not sure that's the language we use. Are you saying that because there's a bill being lobbied for, or one passed, or?
The new definition of defensible space is going to have something called a zone 0 in it, and that is those first 5 feet, and so that's going to be for just people that are in high and very high fire risk areas. However, the other thing that's coming down the pike are some really strict new insurance company regulations. And there's a new insurance industry thing that you can get your home checked off so that you have an insurance industry gold star to get a better rate, but part of their criteria is literally you can only have 10 potted plants within the first 5 feet around your house and deck. Nothing else flammable at all.
This is probably not a great time to have this conversation, but I literally am fewer than 5 feet from my neighbor's fence, and many houses in Willits are like that.
Yep.
So, we have different insurance companies, I mean, so there's no bill that's been signed that's gonna make this happen this year.
They're working on rolling out the definitions. There was a bill that mandated that get put into place, and they're still working on the language.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway. Questions about Measure P?
Yeah, two. One is does this have a twilight time, or is this a forever, or is it 5, 10, 15 years?
This is for 10 years, and it was specifically because, and you can correct me, but I believe the intent of that with the supervisors was to give people that were skeptical about it being a general fund a chance to see it in action and get it proven in with a track record. And so it's kind of a safety net. It will go away if it doesn't get spent like it's supposed to.
Right, and what if the supervisors change? Is this agreement that you've made binding on future supervisors?
And I think the answer is there's no way to do that. It's a resolution, and the supervisors could pass a different resolution sometime. But again, that's the beauty of this is that we've got, the moment this passes, 20 fire departments are going to build their budgets around it and make hiring decisions and purchasing decisions based on it. So if it goes away, there will be a really loud and quick cry. And similarly, the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council has a network of 55 and more and growing neighborhood councils that, and we're going to be doing the same thing. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on it.
So I'm interested in a house down in the Bay Area where the fire department actually comes out, assesses your home, checks off plants you need to remove, and if you don't do it, they do it and charge you. Do you see this as being something that's going to be happening in the future here?
One thing I know is that I'm terrible at predicting the future, so I'm not going to try to do that. But it wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened. There's places that are a lot further along than us. Marin 2 years ago passed a tax on themselves just for fire prevention service that is about $9 to $10 million a year, and they are their inspection program is incredible and intense, and they've got software, and they are tracking, and they are building a database of exactly what everybody's weaknesses are, and that's going to allow them to get even more money. Now, when a grant comes up and they can immediately say, we know we've got 600 homes that need gutter covers, and whatever, they've got the data right there to be able to say exactly what needs funded and what subsidies need to happen. We need to start moving in that direction and having a better sense of what we need as a community so we can capture opportunities.
So I think we need to wrap it up now. I want to thank Supervisor Haschek and Director Scott Brady for joining us. And
If I can just add,
sure.
that on Tuesday night, Senator McGuire and I are going to have a town hall at the fire station, the new fire station. And so I think you need to sign up on Supervisor McGuire's website because they're limiting the numbers to 50 in person. And so that will be Tuesday at 6:30. Okay, anyway, thank you. You can see that Scott, and the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council will leverage this money to the best effect for all of Mendocino County if they're the ones who get it. But anyway, you can see that here's Chief Carter has to go out on an emergency call during this. And there's just a lot of need for both Measure O and P. So thank you.
So let's just take about a 5-minute break while we set up for our school board candidates discussion, please.